Good morning and welcome to Between the Beats. We're here with Karen Howard. She is the author of a book called Upset is Optional. Karen, for you, I gave the listeners a little bit of your background and I stopped with how you transitioned out of the lobbying to where you are now. So good morning. How are you, Karen?
Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in D.C., and I'm doing great.
Oh, good. I am glad. Tell us, if you can, real quick, how you transitioned to your different focus.
You know, it was kind of an amazing story. I am well known for quitting my job when it does not serve my purpose, and I had just happened into a situation where I was sick of managed care, and I ended up meeting people who were trying to figure out how to reorganize something called the naturopathic physician world. And it totally changed my life. So naturopaths are licensed in many states across the country, but back then it was like part of the main thing that we would do. And I learned all kinds of things about how to be healthy, and I've stayed in that world, and now I'm in the dietary supplement world. So it's been 20 plus years, and it beats the heck out of doing managed care.
Oh, I bet. That's great. I've been working on going to webinars and stuff along those lines myself, so it's super interesting. Let's see, your book, Upset is Optional. Can you elaborate on the concept of it and how it applies to us today?
Sure. You know, there's always going to be suffering in the world. We can't eradicate that as much as I know we would love to. But there is something different between upset and suffering, and that is, you know, suffering is, upset is something that's optional. We think that our brain is what really motivates us to change and be who we are. But the reality is that your body is actually smarter than your brain. So when you're using language or you're getting in a situation where you're upset, you're actually causing physical reactions inside your body. And you carry that stress with you through the day. So the point of Upset is Optional is like, okay, how do I learn to listen to my body and change my behavior or change the language I use through the practices in the book so that I can lead a life that's calm and supportive of everyone that I know and love.
I totally believe that, and it's harder than it seems, for me anyway. So let us know how we can manage the anxiety and some of your strategies.
Okay, so I think the first thing that we need to do is breathe. And I find myself sometimes breathing very much from the top of my chest. And if you get yourself in a situation where, even if it's in the car and somebody has cut you off, if you really start to pay attention, you'll notice that you've quit breathing in that moment. And if you don't continue to breathe deeply, you're stressing your entire body. So it's like when you find yourself in a situation, whether it's on the road, in a conversation with a friend, watching the television, you've got yourself upset, pay attention. Are your muscles all tight? Have you quit breathing? Are you just like shallow breathing? And if you start taking really deep breaths, that's going to get you to a place where you can hear yourself think, where you can bring yourself down, where you can deeply listen to the person that you're having a conversation with. But that breathing exercise is really important in this. That's just the first one.
Okay, that's a good point. Breathe. All right. And then how do you reframe negative emotions like frustration, fear, anger even?
It comes in some parts, it's about being an observer. So you can get yourself, I can get myself in a mindset where it's like, the world is coming to an end, or I can't fix this problem, or the person I'm speaking to, I just can't agree with. And this is happening a lot around the world, much less just the United States. So if you can sit back and be an observer and not get your body physically engaged in what you're listening to or hearing, it's like, so I sit there and I listen to something I don't want to hear. I can do one of many things. But the first thing you can do is say, well, that's interesting. And become that, make yourself become that observer. Do not absorb that energy that you don't want to absorb and make yourself tight and quit breathing again. And in some ways, one of the ways to do that is to create sort of a word wall. And I have lots of words, and I'm not just talking about words that we speak out loud. I speak a lot to myself in my head. So I love to use the word moron. It's like one of my very favorite words. And I have to stop myself continually. I don't want to call anybody a moron anymore. I don't want to think that's moronic anymore. I really want to change that. So I change the words up. And I say, even if it's just, oh, that's interesting. Or in the beginning of the election, when there were two men running for president, I used the words Martha Washington and Mary Todd Lincoln, and said, well, let's just call them that, because no one knows how to react. They don't know who to be mad at. So there's a language there that you can choose, and you can, like, you can get some examples out of the book, but those are a few of them that I think really work. And for me, they change a lot. So it's, I think, taking note of the words that you use, the judgmental words you use, write them down, and come up with another word for them, and make it an opposite, and then just use it. Like, like I said, for me, when I say moron, I'm like, oh no, that's interesting.
Okay. Well, that is interesting, but really interesting. I don't mean that, but that's moronic. I like that. One of my goals this year is to be less negative in my head, so I'll try that. Let's see. How about let's talk about the serving the 7 generations. I love this idea. Can you tell us in detail about that, please?
Yes. So it's rooted in Native American philosophy. And what it is and I have the fortune of being able to listen to grandmothers from several tribes from around the United States drumming on the mall at the Washington Monument. And I think for me, it was a really transformational moment, and it really drove this whole concept down, which is this. There are 7 generations that I serve. 3 that came before me I honor in my service, obviously generations I never knew. And 3 that come after me, also some of which I will never know. And I can only do that in my one generation. So when I am doing work, and I find myself, the example in the book is I was the CEO of a water bottling company. And we were going to do great things. We were going to make really cool waters, and some of it was CBD, and it got really creative and everything. But it became clear that the investors really just wanted more plastic bottles of water on the shelf.
Mm.
And so I realized at that point that my frustration and the barriers that I was facing had everything to do with that not being serving the 7 generations. So I quit. And it's really, I think it's always been my driver. I just didn't have words or an example to learn from to be able to teach me that. So in days like, we're living through some tough times. There's a lot of transition. A lot of people are really worried. There's a lot of uncertainty. And for me, I have a strong objective in my work, which is to really change our healthcare system from a disease-based one to one that promotes health and wellness. That sounds really easy, but all the barriers that are there are enormous, and they're all financial barriers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is every day I wake up and I'm like, this is how I'm going to serve today. This is the work I'm going to do. And as long as I'm in that space, that I'm of service, then I'm okay.
I think that is one thing that's missing in the mindset sometimes is, being of service. And I really like that idea in your thinking.
Well, you do it every day. You come on and you have a show, and you're doing this for the sake of your listeners. And you're bringing them content and information that you believe will make a difference. So, and I think people feel like you need to be a nurse or a teacher to do this work, right? That is absolutely not true. I think there's service in everything that we do. I am eternally grateful for the people who pick up my trash every week.
Yeah.
So I really think we can all live like that. We just need to be conscious when we're doing it.
Okay. Well, tell us, when we're talking with family or friends that don't agree with us, you have kind of a strategy that involves listening and stuff to, not get too fractious. Can you tell us about that?
So most of the time, I think we know we're going to walk into a situation like this. And I mean, we've been at this now for almost 10 years. This has been going on for a while. And, I can remember the first go-round when people couldn't sit at the Thanksgiving dinner together. And I have had my own experience that caught me off guard. So I think the most important thing that you can do is when you go into a situation where you know that you're going to encounter different viewpoints than your own, is to do it before you go in, center yourself, and find your breath. Like, find your breath. Sit down and keep your breath. And then as you're sitting through whatever conversation, just be that listener. sit on your hands. Don't let yourself jump into something and use language that will tighten everybody up. So that deep listening, so you can just be an observer, like a kind of little out-of-body experience, will allow you to keep your perspective and understand that all of us are going to have differing viewpoints. But at the end of the day, if you're in a room with people that you love, you want to maintain that more than anything else. And I think even in casual conversations with friends, whether you're at a restaurant with a group of people, that listening, that deep listening component will keep your body in place where you can stay out of upset.
Okay. Well, let's make it a little personal. Say you're losing your job or your health. Do these tactics work on those situations also?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, like I said, there is a lot of despair and there's a lot of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to diminish anybody's situation where they're suffering greatly. And at the same time, I've known people who've gone through things like this and maintained their ability to be positive, and as a result, improve their health over time. So I think it goes to, yes, this is the burden that I bear in that moment or in that duration or in that situation. And I think that once you have an appreciation for more than your current situation, like for the people around you and the impact you have on them, and frankly, to be able to enjoy all the gifts that we do have in the world,
mm-hmm.
it makes it easier to go through struggles like that. I know that when we were all collectively learning these together and taking them out and teaching them, it was really, it was an amazing reaction to sit with someone who was in pain for whatever kind of reason and be able to talk to them about these practices and help them find ease in their body. So you're not trying to change anybody's mind. You're not trying to be a doctor. You're not trying to do any of those things. But you do have the ability to listen, care, and demonstrate love in a way that can help people find their own sense of peace.
Well, I love that. And be kind. I think you wrote somewhere that's the thing. Be kind.
Being kind is pretty critical. I think being kind. If you can't be kind, be quiet.
That sounds good. Well, tell us about your book and where the listeners can find it.
Yes, it's Upset is Optional, and it is available at the website, Upset is Optional, where you can learn more about my mentor, which I strongly encourage people to do. And it's available on Amazon. And I'm hopeful I'm hopeful that this month I can start doing the audiobook, because apparently that's more popular than sitting and reading.
Oh, yeah, I do that. I'm big on the audiobook, so I agree. You are on the right track there. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience?
My dad would say, this too shall pass, and it used to really annoy the heck out of me. But I will say, as I've gotten older, it's true. Whatever situation you're in at the moment, it won't always be there. So have hope, have faith, and be kind.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.